In 1540, Cosimo transferred his family residence from the present Palazzo Medici Riccardi to the Palazzo della Signoria. It was an extremely significant gesture. The present Palazzo Vecchio was no longer the seat of the community, nor of an oligarchical signoria, but became the residence of the Duke. It was the ducal palace overlooking the ducal piazza. The transformation of the building into a residence for the court was undertaken by Cosimo because of its profound political significance, despite the obvious unsuitability of the building for such a purpose. The work of transformation was followed by the construction of the Uffizi, the restructuring of Palazzo Pitti, and the building of the Vasari corridor linking the renovated Pitti Palace with what was now to be known as Palazzo Vecchio. The commencement and execution of this grandiose project coincided with the engagement into the Duke's service in 1555 of Giorgio Vasari, the painter and architect. Vasari created in the Ducal Palace a splendid and grandiose work, a masterpiece of complex and many-sided 16th century architecture and of Mannerist decoration. With subtle intuition, he interpreted the desire of Cosimo I to renovate without breaking with tradition, and he left the exterior of the palazzo unaltered. The interior is a complex, stratified world. Enormous or tiny rooms, one behind the other, free, side by side, linked in cycles and sequences. Spaces open to the outside, such as the terrace of Saturn, or else completely closed in, such as the studiolo of Francesco I. Spaces are linked together on the same floor, or else vertically from floor to floor. A basic feature which characterizes the rooms in the Ducal Palace is the presence of the image, whether painted or sculpted, in the form of realistic or allegorical iconographic programs. Images of Cosimo and the other members of the Medici family fill the rooms and halls of the Ducal Palace, together with figures from classical mythology or from more realistic scenes. Of particular interest are the views of cities and landscapes. The Tuscan cities, the overall views of Florence and of its individual urban spaces, are here as an expression of a clear understanding of the relationship between glory, power, and urban layout, especially at a time when a relatively uniform regional state was being created, dotted with castles spread all over Tuscany, of which Cosimo became Grand Duke in 1569, after his conquest of Siena. But the views of the cities and landscapes are also the sign of a new approach to the decoration of the interior spaces. Clever variations in the use of materials give rise to a decorative complex in which all the arts are called upon to celebrate the Duke. The most highly valued varieties of stone and marble are used for the architectural decoration and for the fireplaces. White marble, mischio from San Giusto a Monterantoli, and pietra serena. The only example of stained glass, made to a design by Vasari and Marco da Faenza, is in the studiolo of Calliope. Paintings on panel are used mainly for the decoration of the ceilings, skillfully divided by means of carved and gilded wooden cornices, and the floors in red and white terracotta tiles reflect the divisions on the ceilings, following the example of Michelangelo in the Laurentian Library. Mural paintings are framed, like canvases, in fantastical designs of gilded stucco. And in the marginal areas, every surface is covered with painted emblems of the Medici, grotesques, and figures derived with great freedom from the classical repertory. The iconographical programs of the halls are complemented by the tapestries. Precious woven hangings used to decorate the walls only on special occasions. The series of scenes from the life of Joseph, intended for the Sala dei Duecento, and consisting of 20 tapestries, is the most important as regards the number and size of the pieces and the richness of materials. At present divided between the Florence Soprintendenza and the Quirinal Palace in Rome, the series was one of the first made in the Florentine manufactories, founded by Cosimo in 1545, following the arrival in Florence of the Flemish tapestry makers, known as Giovanni Rost and Nicola Carca. Cosimo's principal court painters, such as Bronzino, Pontormo and Salviati, designed the preparatory cartoons. The biblical subject of Joseph betrayed by his brethren alludes once again to the Medici, who had been driven out of Florence only to return in triumph.